This is the Haibike Enduro Pro. It's a top-of-the-line, sort of like downhill-oriented electric bike from Haibike. Gosh, it's long travel, 180 millimeters of suspension in the front and rear. Really high-quality shocks here. We've got the Fox Talus 36, a bunch of adjustments here we've kind of been messing around with. You can see it's this oversized tapered head tube. Same thing right here on the Float X CTD. It's got ascend, trail, and then downhill settings, so that can kind of stiffen up the suspension and reduce that bob for efficiency. The wheels on this are 26 inch, so 26 by 2.4, and that's a little bit smaller. You'll notice that now with mountain bikes and stuff, there's like 27.5 inch and 29, and the larger wheels are a little bit harder to start, but they create some more rolling momentum, and they also have a higher attack angle, so you can just roll right over rocks and stuff like that. With this smaller wheel size, you get increased travel, so you can still hit stuff and roll over it, but you also get kind of a quicker handling going on. It's got a 20 millimeter through axle in the front, so just super solid, sturdy. Also makes it a little bit easier to take the wheel off, put it back on, and line up that disc brake rotor. And that's a 200 millimeter rotor in the front. We've got 180 in the rear. This is a 12 millimeter through axle in the rear, so again, with the through axles, just super burly. It's a pretty incredible bike, but it's very focused on off-roading and kind of downhilling. If you're riding this around town, there aren't like braze-ons for adding racks or anything like that. It's kind of a recreational off-road type of bike. And I should mention that it's got this seat post dropper, which is pretty cool, with a remote lever up there, so you can kind of drop that if you're going downhill and you're using your legs to kind of absorb the bumps, or you can raise it if you're climbing. So it's really cool that the way they've set this up. This is an expensive bike. It's like $9,100, but it is the top of the line. It's relatively lightweight, at about 49 pounds. It comes in 4 sizes, small, medium, large, and extra large, so you can dial in the fit for your body type and get like a really smooth, consistent ride. And I should say the Mavic wheel set, it's got these nice bladed spokes, which is pretty cool. It's a little bit lighter, but it's very tough as well. I think this is like single cast aluminum. It's a beautiful setup all around. You can see the cables are integrated. Everything like that. Oh, and in fact, one of the other neat features of this particular model is that it's got an 11-speed cassette in the rear, right? So a lot of these Bosch bikes, they've only got a single chain ring in the front or a single sprocket, and that's so that it can be a little bit, stay on track a little bit better and a little bit more rugged. So you're really only working with this rear cassette, and 11 is like the most that I've seen. So this is SRAM XX1 right there. High quality components. You can see there the rings are sort of cut away to reduce weight, and it's got that guide system up there, so that's SES. It's like sprocket, let's see if I can remember this, equalizing system. There we go. So it raises the chain a little bit for that rear arm, and it's also supposed to reduce like kickback, pedal kickback. So like as the distance between the front ring and the rear cassette changes, you can have the lever kind of bouncing around, and this eliminates that. And it's got like rotating small and large teeth, so the chain's not going to slip. Really just premium stuff all around on this bike. So I actually, FedEx. Okay, so I'm actually here with Jed. How's it going?
Good, how you guys doing?
It's awesome. It's great to see this bike. It's a really colorful and exciting bike, and we were talking about it earlier. So you're like a senior service technician at BBCC or EBCC, so Electric Bike Competency Center.
Correct.
Got it. And you kind of assemble and service these to some extent. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So we pull them out of the box and basically figure out that everything is here and the electrics work. It is an electric bike first. So that is the most important thing, and then a bicycle afterwards.
So it's like purpose-built electric bike.
Correct.
Okay, it's not like and you can see that with like the battery mounting position, and obviously the way the motor is mounted. Maybe I should hit those specs real quick.
Absolutely.
While we're on it. It's a 350 watt second generation Bosch performance drive system. 350 watts being geared, it allows the motor to run at just a more efficient RPM, right? And that's the same thing with this smaller sprocket right here. Right, so you're getting higher torque, and it's very responsive because it's measuring the wheel speed in the rear as well as the torque as you pedal and the pedal speed. So it combines all three of those things. I think it measures it like 1,000 times per second and gives you this really smooth ride, which is important. Like if you're going down a hill or you're coming up on a cliff, you want to stop. You don't want that the motor like
And the bike does sense a gear shift and will stop momentarily.
Right.
So you don't have an over torquing of the motor as you're trying to shift.
Yeah.
So it's almost unnoticeable after the first few rides.
That's key. You make a really good point, because it is a mid-drive system, and if you're going up a hill, you're coming from like high speed going down a hill, and then you're climbing, all of a sudden you're shifting real quick. You know, you and the motor are pulling on that chain, and so it's nice that the motor's smart enough to sort of like pause for a second. And
so as you're coming from downhill to an uphill, you can basically slam all the way through your gear set from your easiest to your hardest, or vice versa, to hit the climb or the descent.
That's awesome. Well, and you know, and generally speaking, this is just a cosmetic exterior, but the motor only weighs like 5.5 pounds, and it's sealed. It's the second generation, so this thing's been tested over in Europe. It's high quality stuff. Also, the battery pack removable, so you can take it off and charge it separately, keep it topped off, reduce the overall weight of the bike by about 8.8 pounds by taking that off. It offers 36 volts, 11 amp hours of capacity, lithium manganese cells, which are known for being lightweight and relatively durable. So it's a great setup all around. It's premium, like everything on this bike is premium. But one of the areas that we were talking about, you take these bikes out, you've done some downhilling yourself, you're an avid bicycler, you know. So can you tell me a little bit about maybe the disc brakes? You know, you were talking about
these Trails XOs. I'm probably the best brakes I've used in a long time. One finger stop on back and rear, all the way through, long downhills, no brake fade,
right, and
no heat up,
and the brake fade, that was okay. So it's like if you use maybe cheaper disc brakes and you're like really bearing down,
and they heat up, the pads glaze a little bit, so you have less friction against the pad, and it takes more force to get the same stopping power. So it does catch you off guard a little bit. So these brakes do not do that.
Okay, so less hand fatigue and also just better performance all around.
These are alpha brakes.
What else have I missed here? Because, you know, again, I'm trying to hit all the specs and provide a good overview.
I mean, as for a rider, obviously you have, you know, your dropper seat post is just controlled from here.
Right.
So you find your normal climbing position. As you come to a downhill, hit this, sit, and basically takes it out of your way.
Right.
So that basically you can maneuver on the frame, do whatever you need to do.
Sweet.
This side of the forks basically can adjust travel. So if you notice it climbed a little bit, if you push down.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if you release it.
Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh, yeah.
So you can, it's easier. This is a very long travel fork. So
180 millimeters, right?
So as some of you have taken long travel bicycles uphill, it's not a lot of fun. At least you can lower this a little bit.
And that's bobbing, right? That's because you're like pedaling, and as you pedal,
as you're climbing, and then basically you're doing wheelies up the climb.
I see.
So that eliminates it slightly. High speed, low speed compression. As you're going faster, you want the wheel to return to the ground much faster than you normally would at slow speed.
Right, when you're going at faster speed, because you want that traction.
Right.
Whereas at slower speed, it's like it can be a little softer and have
softer and then come down.
Slower rebound.
Correct. So, if you're going real fast and you've got a lot of bumps and rocks, you want that tire to come back down.
Cool.
And not be in the air.
Okay, and then you've got similar adjustments here. There's like a whole bunch. I guess we're looking at this. I think this is descend.
Right. This is the Fox CTD, which is climb, trail, and descend.
Okay.
So in the up position, that would be climb, so it locks it out.
Pretty stiff, yep.
Okay. Center position, that
Little
is
bit.
trail, so not so much. And then full descend, which is you get the full stroke and a very soft, compliant system.
And then this is the rebound again,
and then
speed?
Separate rebound adjustment, so slower in 3 and then faster on 1. So
okay.
However you want to tune it to your riding ability and the trail ability, you just use that.
Very cool. And these are all air, right? So it contributes to that lightweight design.
You need to set this up correctly for your weight. So set the front shocks and the rear shock for whatever PSI the manufacturer specs for your weight. And then after a while, it will be a personal choice on what shock settings you will roll.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for the technical overview on all of that. The other piece is kind of the display, and This is the Bosch Intuvia, so it's a pretty cool system. It is removable, and it's got like a little battery right inside the display, so you can turn it on and kind of mess with it off the bike if you wanted.
One thing with this is if this battery, you leave it off and it goes dead, you can charge it with your cell phone charger.
Really? Oh, because there's like that port right there.
There's a micro USB port.
Okay.
So a 1.8 milliamp charger will charge this. It'll take a few hours, but it'll happen.
Interesting. Does this also provide power, like if I want to charge my phone or something off of the bike?
Absolutely. And that's something you'd like to do.
Right, yeah. It takes a different sort of adapter, and I've actually heard that the output voltage on this isn't quite enough to do like some iOS devices, but it is neat that it has it. It sort of just blends right in. And you know, you slide this on. The display is actually, you can angle it to reduce glare while you're riding, which is really cool. Oh, thanks. And here, I'll just scoot it forward a little bit. There we go. So let's see, when you first turn it on, you've got your speed as well as your pedal assist level. Right now it's an off, and your battery level. And of course the speed, you can change it to kilometers per hour if you want. And you've got a few different buttons here, but I primarily use this breakout box right here, or this like remote button pad. The eye cycles through different settings, so you can see your odometer, your trip distance, which can be reset with that button there, clock, max speed, and average speed, and trip time, I should say. Range is the really cool one, because you can go from like the lowest level of assist, which is 50% support, eco, and right now it's estimating 76-mile range. So that's in ideal conditions like flat paved roads, not a lot of wind, you know, a rider who's like 170 pounds or something like that. But that's still impressive. And again, this bike has like the knobby tires, so it's a little bit less efficient when you ride, but still, you know, I bet you could get 60 plus on this. And then you go up to Tour, Sport, and Turbo, and the range dynamically changes. So now we've got 29 miles is what it's estimating in turbo mode. So imagine getting the full output of this motor, which is 275% of your pedaling power, climbing up a mountain and then bombing it. You don't need a chairlift. You don't need a van to take you up or down, or, you know, dealing with putting a car at the top, a car at the bottom. And that's fun, you know, that's great. But this really empowers you, and you're not going to get, like, you know, potentially sore knees, or, you know, basically you can take this free riding, which is just so cool to me. And this bike actually won, I think it was like Mountain Bike of the Year in Europe or in Germany in late 2014, which is pretty impressive. And that's of all mountain bikes, not just non-electric mountain bikes. This was like any mountain bike, and an electric bike took second. I mean, that's pretty amazing to see the way that this is going in Europe and how people ride these. This is a pedal assist class 1 bike, meaning it cuts out at 20 miles per hour and it's only pedal assist. There's no throttle. You're not going to be spinning out the tires or anything, wrecking the trail. That's not the case. This is basically qualifies as a mountain bike. And it's relatively quiet too. You know, yeah, it's a geared motor. There's a little bit of whining happening, but it's relatively quiet, especially in the lower assist levels. So I might just hop on this thing now and do a quick ride around and let you see the motor in action. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm in turbo mode just so you can hear it, and it is measuring those three things: the speed, pedal cadence, and torque. So notice how quickly that chain ring starts and stops when I start pedaling and stop pedaling. Woo! Yeah, it's a comfortable ride. It definitely softens things up with these huge suspension points. You know, the fork is a little bit more angled. I think it has more rake, and so riding with no hands is a little harder. You know, the bike kind of wants to turn a little bit, but when you go down a decline like this, like your steering point sort of changes, comes back, and then that's where you get the really responsive maneuverability of those 26-inch wheels that are on this. So, you know, really dialed in for kind of that downhill riding style, and a whole lot of fun. That's the Haibike Enduro Pro. For the full write-up on this with all the specs and pictures and other Haibike reviews, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com.